Hello and good morning. This is Kat Kruger. I am the usual dungeon master here at D20 Dames, and we have a family-friendly, all-ages podcast that does actual play storytelling. Right now, we're using it's a simplified D&D system that's really meant for kids and new learners, and it's called Wanderleaf. We also have a full backlog of our first campaign, the Good Fortune campaign. Um, anyway, that is not what I'm doing today. The Dames have decided to do what we're calling downtime with the Dames, and what that means is we're just streaming various content. Jen just completed building a little mystery miniature detective agency from a kit. A few weeks ago, I crafted a little felt fox toy, but lately I've been really interested in solo RPG and journaling RPGs. So I have um, I have hi there, Andy. I have decided to stream some of the solo content. And what I did last week was I started with a game called Untitled Moth Game, where I am playing a moth. I've been cursed. I used to be a maiden, and my true love is held captive in the Tyrant's castle. She is a spirit, but I don't know what you know what happened beyond that. The tyrant was mad because there was happiness in the village, and we bore the brunt of that displeasure. Um, so my moth has flittered around in the village, and as I was going through, sort of like this was this was like my first playthrough of a solo RPG, so some of the rules didn't didn't quite get interpreted the way that they were supposed to. But I think it's going to be a little bit smoother this week. Essentially, I am in moth form most of the time. I need to go around the village to collect moonlight, um, which it's I really love the little elements of the game. So it doesn't come with anything besides the printout, but you can find tokens from whatever. And I've got like this little gemstone. Let's see if I can. This is from my kids. There's a Haba game called Glitter Luck Unicorn, um, and this is a little gem from there. So that's my representation of moonlight. Um, I also have my dice, and I've got you need to have a D2, so it's recommended by the designer to get just a coin to flip it. And this is again from a little fake cash register that my kid has. Not even sure. I'm not from the U.S., so but I live in the U.S. and I don't know what this coin is. Maybe a 50-cent piece, a dollar. I don't know. It looks special. But this is also, I think, one of the few coins that actually has a femme person on the coin. So I thought that would be a neat representation for this game. Um, what else? I have. Oh yes, Taroka deck or tarot deck, or even just regular playing cards are important to this game. They essentially map out. I'm just going to change my camera here. You map out the village and you map out the castle when we get to the castle using a deck of. It's supposed to be Taroka, but I can. The instructions showed that I could use a tarot deck instead if I pulled out certain cards to represent what is in there. So this is the passage of what happened last week in the village, and then the castle has a separate deck that I built out. And let's see, what else do I need to do to recap here? So the moth-maiden. Oh, I'm using this beautiful deck called the Forager's Daughter Tarot. I picked it out because there's a moth on the cover and on the backs of the cards. They're beautiful cards. So yeah, I'm a moth-maiden. I am currently in maiden form because I collected some moonlight. As a moth, I'm supposed to be investigating the area and collecting moonlight so I can transform into a maiden. But I can't do anything else as a moth. Realized that last week because I was making moth promises that I couldn't keep. The promises, though, happen when I'm in maiden form. So as I walk through the village as a maiden, I'm unlocking my memories, or at least attempting to. So that's where I roll. I have a bunch of skills that I could assign dice to. And every time I switch forms, I get my skills sort of back. Every time I use a skill, the counter goes down. So if I have a D10, if I use that skill for say find, that's my D10. That's my highest skill as a moth. If I use that skill, I have to bring it down to a D8, and then I think when I get to a D2, after using it, I cannot use it again until I transform. All right. I think that is a good recap of the game itself. Story-wise, my moth fluttered around quite a bit, making moth promises that she couldn't hold. So I made some edits to my journal, which you can find on. I did post those journal pages to our patrons on Patreon. They're at patreon.com/d20dames. Essentially, or you can watch the video on demand from last week. So I fluttered around. I met a monk who lamented that he couldn't do anything because his staff was taken by the Tyrant. I met... Who else did I meet? What will I do with the promises in moth form from last time? I don't know. I don't think my moth, maybe because I have a moth mind, I made those promises and then just like fluttered away. Oh, and thank you. Is it Retchbroil for identifying my coin? It is $1. All right. Yeah. Who else did I meet? Oh, I met a soldier who's being really mean to the villagers. But it turned out that the Tyrant was basically asking for more rations because he's starting a war on the border with another area. And then I met a charlatan who was trying to sell a fake potion of some sort. But as a moth, I was able to out him, and it turned out that the Tyrant had cursed his fields, and he had a magic sickle that was taken from his lands. So the Tyrant has that. And then I met... Who was next? Oh, the 7 sages. As a moth, I met 7 sages and discovered that there was a secret entrance to the castle that wasn't very well used, so that might be a way into the castle. And then I finally landed on a scene where I ended off, and I said I was going to write my journal entry before I got back on stream, but I did not do my homework. as is my prerogative. All right, so we'll just pick up from there. I'm gonna move my camera over so you can see where I landed. Okay, so my little unicorn token. That landed on the Seven of Pentacles on my tarot deck, which translates to the Seven of Coins. My prompt here is: there lived a friendless orphan who had to resort to stealing for the daily bread. Now, I had attempted to roll as a maiden to, I believe it was sway. So I used my D8 and I failed. And now I am going to go to my journal here, which, ta-da, I was able to connect. Like magic. All right, so I need to write a journal entry about what happens between my maiden and this little orphan thief, and how it fails. So the failure in this case is I don't actually unlock a memory. The card still gets illuminated, but I don't get to turn it on its side and gain any memory benefit from it. Which was something I didn't really expand on last week as I was sort of muddling through the rules. So I did unlock one memory so far. Let's see. Thief. Orphan thief. I think maybe my maiden, she's already seen the impact of what the Tyrant has done in town. Like the Tyrant has sort of, it seems like, confiscated a lot of magic items, starting a war, really being punishing to the village here by asking for more than they can give food-wise. And my maiden has promised the soldier to retrieve the magic sickle, because that is one way that the village is not going to starve through the winter. And now she sees this orphan who's only stealing bread, and she's trying to, I guess, convince the orphan, maybe not necessarily to steal, but like maybe they could work out something with some of the villagers, help in some way with the village, and sort of like, I don't want to say like the child is needed to work, but like to not just steal, because that's only going to cause the child trouble and the villagers trouble. But I guess maybe the maiden is, she's been in moth form for so long that the words just don't come out in a way that sways this child. But I still need to, according to the rules, I still need to be able to discover something. Yep. Socialist, that memory is not an attainable memory. I've failed to sort of like figure out, I guess, I failed to figure out who this child is. Maybe this child might have been um, someone I've had interactions with, and I think failing in swaying the child could also mean that the child might be a little hurt or angry that the maiden doesn't remember who they are and what sort of importance they had in the maiden's life. Um, but the one other thing I do need to do is figure out, like, what is an important thing that I can unlock from this moment, from this interaction with this child, um, that gives me access to something that isn't a memory. Um, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to say that this child is angry, for all those reasons, but also um, is going to blame the moth-maiden for the troubles happening in the village. All right, so here we go. I will write and probably read after the fact. Okay. So what I wrote was, while wandering the village, I spied an orphan stealing from the baker. Though she was not caught, I followed after her to warn her of the dangers of her actions and the consequences. Others need bread as well, I said. Perhaps there are other ways to earn rations? She sneered at me with deep-seated hate. Wouldn't have to steal if it weren't for you. All right. Now, what to do? I need to move my little token to another part of the village. And I have to decide before I do that whether or not I want to transform. Now, I do have one more moonlight. So, and I only have one memory. So I think I'm going to stay in maiden form for one more before transforming into a moth to get more moonlight. So I'm going to move my unicorn token over to the left, I think. Maybe up. We'll see what's up there. All right. Let's see. Gotta move this up a bit. Oh. There we go. Looks like I got 5 of swords. All right. What does this mean? Five of swords. Hi, Jane. 5 of swords. Here we go. Okay. So for 5 of swords, oops, sorry. Happy Monday. I'm doing well. I'm really enjoying this game. I'm really finding it's really helping with writing. I've been really struggling with writing. Pandemic has not really helped. I think because as a freelancer at home, I had only part-time childcare, and that made it really difficult to focus. And I'm realizing now that I have full-time childcare that I developed some really, really bad habits, and this is really helping me get out of it. We are continuing the moth story. We just finished the encounter with the little orphan thief, and now I've moved on as a maiden to another part of the village, and it's the 5 of Swords. Yeah, and this has really been very helpful with just as writing prompts. Yeah, it's been great. I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm gonna probably continue this series of solo journal RPGs, and probably things are starting to run a little bit smoother too now that I've figured out some of my technological woes and some of the rules too. I think there's a lot of similarity in a lot of the solo games. I've seen a lot that use this Carta system, which is using the tarot deck. Um, so the next one will probably do the same. All right, so Five of Swords. A mighty foe threatened the peace, and none dared stand against them except for one, a mere stripling. All right, so this is an opportunity for the maiden to get another memory. Um, and what is this mighty foe? Let's see. I don't want to go with the obvious, like it's another like big henchman of the Tyrant. I think I might make it like magical weather related. Like there's a big storm coming through. I'm just gonna grab this. All right. So in maiden form, I have 3 different abilities, and I've used one already, so that's moved down a little bit. So I've got Spook as a D4. Sway it used to be a D8, now it's a D6, and then Sneak is a D4. I think what I want to do is use Sway again to talk to this young man who has decided to go up against this magical storm. Maybe he's like a wizard's apprentice or something and thinks that he can fight off this storm. I think I'm going to try to convince him to take shelter with my D6. I'm gonna make it I'm gonna say it's she. It's a wizard. The wizard is. Oh no. Okay, I only got a 2, and I had to beat a 5. So she's in trouble, this young wizard. She is not swayed by the maiden, which also means I fail this memory. I think I'm going to add to the story of, some people in the village blame the maiden for all the bad stuff that's going on. So I'm going to say that this young wizard, she I can't unlock the memory, so I was going to say that no, I guess I could do this. All right, she's going to basically say that the maiden is wrapped up in this whole storm, is part of the storm, and um, the wizard has died as a result um, of what is going on here as well. So this young apprentice wizard no longer has a mentor because of the maiden. Okay. Okay. So I've written a terrible storm brewed along the horizon, moving quickly in dark rolling clouds. Within the storm clouds was a magical energy. Villagers quickly took shelter, but one young woman remained, facing off against the darkness with a wizard's spellbook clutched in her hands. I begged for her to take shelter with the others, but much like the orphan, she gazed upon me with disdain. The storm is your doing, she said. My mentor is gone because of you too. I must stand in her stead. All right. So things are not going very well for the maiden right now. She's failed at basically capturing a couple of her memories at this point. She's only unlocked one memory and a few little hints of what's going on in the castle. She's made one promise so far. And that reminds me, do I need to make promises for failed events? I wonder. I don't think so. I think that makes sense that she wouldn't make a promise if she failed at something. Okay. So I think that the maiden is feeling a little I guess deflated. And I think she's going to go into moth form. That way I can get my skills back up as well. I think I actually made a mistake with sway. She would have failed regardless, I think, because she only had a D4 at that point. Well, I'm glad you are emotionally invested in her well-being, Andy. I'm feeling for her too, because it's sort of like, she got cursed, and that was not her fault. But at the same time, there's so much terrible stuff that's going on um, with the villagers as a result of, true love. It's terrible. But yeah, I am going to transform into a moth. So I'm going to grab my little moth icon here. Okay. So when I transform from moth to maiden or maiden to moth, in the village I can transform from maiden to moth without using moonlight. When I get to the castle, I have to use moonlight for either direction. Um, but when I do transform, I get to bring up all my skills back to their full amount. One thing I do have to do when I do the transformation is write a very brief journal entry. Um, I think in this case, I think she's just feeling, utterly, defeated because there have been two encounters back to back where villagers have been rather unkind. Um, so she just wants to disappear as a moth, just not only have moth worries, I guess. Okay, so what I've written is a terrible darkness has befallen the village, and somehow I am a part of it. I feel small and wish to flutter away unnoticed for a spell. Okay, so I am a moth. I'm going to find a spot to flutter away to in the village. So that is the Ace of Swords. All right. So the good thing about this being the Ace of Swords is Ace is 1. That means no matter what I do, I'm going to be okay. Let me find the prompt. All right. Okay, so for Ace of Swords, it is an Avenger. So the prompt is a fire-eyed youth swore they would exact revenge for terrible wrongs and set out to rid the world of a great evil. Well, now I wish I was in maiden form because this seems like a hero of some sort. Let's see. Where is. Just gonna quickly review some of the rules here. So in moth form, if I succeed, I get moonlight. And this is basically the moth is just looking in hidden and dangerous places, looking for this moonlight that will fuel my transformations. And these cards are just challenges. So I think I'm going to use find because that's a D10. Actually, no, I don't need to use my D10 here because it's going to be an automatic win. So I'm going to use just flutter. And flutter is my ability to draw attention either to yourself or to some part of the environment. I think what I'm going to do is when I help out this, I'm going to say it's like a knight. And this knight, they, they're swearing to go into this castle, defeat the tyrant, and the moth knows a secret entrance. So I think the moth is going to flutter over and lead the knight to that entrance, and maybe that will give the moth some sort of advantage when when I make it to the castle. All right, so I just roll a D4 to flutter. I got a 1, so I won. And I'm just going to write a quick little moth tidbit in my journal. Okay, here we go. Riding in through the village in the aftermath of the storm was a knight who grieved the injuries sustained by the young wizard apprentice. After tending to her wounds and leaving her to bed rest, they headed to the castle to confront the tyrant. I fluttered before them and led them to the secret entrance I had seen on the map of the Seven Sages. Okay, so that was a success, which means I get another moonlight token. And I believe I want to transform into a maiden again. So let's grab that maiden icon that I've been using. Alright, so I will discard this token that I just got. And I'm going to write a little journal entry about getting fired up. Okay. At last, someone has arrived to confront the tyrant. I desire to assist in some way and must find courage in my true form. Okay. So, I have transformed into a maiden again, and I need to figure out where I'm going in the village. Probably gonna go up one. I'm gonna move my camera a little bit. Alright, let's see what this does. So that is the Three of Wands. Okay. 3 of Wands. And wand is stars. Oh. Okay. So here we have 3 of Stars represents the enchanter. A youth sat weeping in a tower by the sea. Who is this youth? Let's see. They could be captive, or they could be just someone who lives in the tower. Hmm. Maybe another. I don't know. Don't want to make it another wizard. Someone else. Why would they be in this tower by the sea? And this is a memory of the maidens too. So if I succeed, maybe what I'll do is I'm gonna sway. Sway is my best ability right now because I need to beat a 3 and sway is a d8. So I'm going to roll my d8 and then we'll try to figure out what the story is here. 5. Okay. So that means I do unlock a memory. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to move it sideways. Okay. I think I have an idea. I think that the person in this tower is it's sort of like in this world it's like a lighthouse, except it is like a stormkeeper's house, and this role has been appointed by the Tyrant, and this is the source of the magical storms that have been going through the village. And this youth has power over storms, and the Tyrant has taken something or someone hostage, and pressed this storm maker into service, but clearly they are very upset about doing this work. And I think the maiden is going to sway this individual and unlock some sort of memory. Oops. I think, right. I will be right back. I'm just going to take a quick break. And when I come back, I will start writing about the Stormbreaker. All right, I'll see you in a second. I was muted. I will read that again. Thank you. All right. Um, so my moth, sorry, um, I I encountered a youth at the tower, and this is my journal entry for that. Um, my moth form had taken me to the seaside, where the sound of weeping caught my attention. In a tower, I discovered a young man weeping. When he saw me at the height of the stairs, I was startled by the hope that filled his eyes. Asha, he said softly, and I recognized the sounds as my name. I thought you were gone forever. Please don't judge me. The tyrant forces me, as stormkeeper, to wreak damage upon the lands, not caring that his own villagers are caught in the maelstroms. So, as maiden, I make this promise that I am going to break the enchanted weather vane that curses the stormkeeper. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about muting. I try to mute as much as I can when I leave my work area or typing, because I actually have a mechanical keyboard now. Um, so when I'm recording for the Dames, it's like click 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 click, and I try to mute it. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. So this has taken a very nice positive turn. I am down to D6 for my sway. And then my other skills are D4s. However, I am desperately searching for the other part of the deck of cards, which are items. I'm really, really hoping that the maiden finds an item at some point. I think as a moth, I can also take an item. I would assume so. Yeah, I think so. I'm gonna say yes because it would make sense otherwise. So yeah, I'm really hoping that I find an item next. So I will continue as a maiden because I would like to unlock some more memories. Let us move to the left, I think. All right, we have got the Five of Wands. This is going to be a tricky challenge because my highest die right now is in sway, which is now down to a D6, and I have to beat a 5. 5 of Wands. Wands again is stars. Here we go. Okay, so my prompt for this one is Elementalist, 5 stars. There lived a humble hedge witch who made their living by charming the tools and crops of nearby farmers. This is adorable. All right. So, in order for me to even possibly succeed in this challenge, I have to sway this hedge witch because my d6 will, if I get a 5 or 6, then I make it. If it's below that, I do not, and I won't unlock another memory. So let's start by doing the d6. Womp womp. I got a 2. All right. So let's see. I still get pertinent information. I just don't get to unlock a memory. So I think... Oh no, my pencil's low on battery. Just one moment here. The challenges of technology, where an actual pen would help out. Where is my charger for this? Okay, I might need to end a little bit early here because my pen, my digital pen, is only at 5%, and I'm not sure that I have a charger available that I can charge this with. Alright. I will make sure that my pen is fully charged for next time. Okay. But in the meantime, I'm going to just sort of quickly get through what I can here. Okay, so here we go. I'm at least going to grab my moth-maiden icon here. Okay. So I failed to convince the hedge witch to give me a hand. I feel like this hedge witch is sort of just like, you got us into this mess, you need to get us out of it. But what is that one thing that I gain out of this that isn't a memory? I want to say it has something to do with there's a magic scythe that's being held by the Tyrant that belongs to the soldier's family. And I think maybe the hedge witch is involved in that. What was the prompt again? 5 of wands. And wands is stars. Charming the tools and crops of nearby farmers. Yeah, so maybe she's the one that enchanted this scythe. Um, oh, I know. Because there are artifacts somewhere in the midst here. I'm gonna say that she just sort of says, that's not the only magic item lying around, and maybe we'll be lucky enough to find a magically enchanted item somewhere here. So I'm going to write until my pen stops writing, or my Apple Pencil stops writing. Okay. As I made my way back into the village, I chanced upon a small thatch-roofed hut in the woods. Outside, a hedge witch tended a small garden with enchanted tools that did her bidding. Would you have any tools that I might borrow? I asked. She scoffed. You'll need more than spades to dig yourself out of this mess you seem to have gotten into. Look elsewhere if you're to find tools for your foolhardy quest, and mind where you're stepping. The snapdragons bite. I think at this point I am going to transform back into a moth to um, maybe search around or something. It will also sort of reset my skills. So I'm going to grab my moth icon. And then I need to just write a little transformation story here. Okay, so I've written, determined to find enchanted items for my quest, I transformed into a moth in order to search the darkest reaches of the village. All right. So I have nowhere to go but down, so we'll go there. Ooh, the devil. This means I found something. All right, this is exciting. I found something. Let's see if I can grab where it is. Okay. So I need to figure out what the high deck does. So what I got here was the Devil card, which is the Tempter, and I get to choose one of two options. I can either gain one moonlight or, oh, convert one moonlight to one memory. Okay, so I have one moonlight, which means I won't be able to, if I convert this, I won't be able to transform back into a maiden until I succeed in another area here. Um, I think that's worth it though, because the goal is to get these memories. And then the associated promise with this is that I vow never to let my ideals stand in the way of results. Interesting. So I guess this vow could mean that when I get to the castle, I'm going to do whatever it takes to sort of rescue my true love. And that could mean doing questionable things. I think, in the interests of a story, though, this is a really good opportunity. So I'm taking my very last bit of moonlight, accepting the temptation. I'm going to say it's like this little shadowy form that shows up and gives me this opportunity, seeing that the maiden has not done terribly well finding and unlocking memories. So let's see. Oh, I have to turn this card sideways too. All right. What is the memory? I think this is going to be a memory that sort of unlocks what actually happened to the moth-maiden. Maybe the Tyrant might not have always been a Tyrant, but there were village festivities and during a festival, I think, and the Moth Maiden and her true love just like radiated with goodness and love and devotion, and it just seemed like every time he saw us together, he felt more and more despair as he didn't have that. Yeah. All right. I'm going to write. All right, here we go. Instantly, a flood of oh, I think I need to go back one more page. Here we go. As I moved through the village at twilight, a shadowy form appeared, offering a memory in exchange for the last bit of moonlight I had collected. Desperate to know more, I agreed. Instantly, a flood of memories returned to me. Dancing at festivals with my true love, laughing, kissing, whispering tender words. The lord of the village at first seemed not to care, but with each festival, each encounter became increasingly incensed. He was engaged, but the engagement was broken off, and that very day we were cursed. So the promise I have to make in this instance, because there's a tempter, is I vow never to let my ideals stand in the way of results. I think that is a very good place to wrap it up for the day. Um, the maiden has had a very pretty substantial amount of encounters today. Not all of them were great. She did unlock a few interesting tidbits though, and this last one was particularly interesting because it was a special card that gave her a special ability. There are other cards in the deck where she could actually get a magic item, but we wrap up the village search when we encounter the miss card, which could be anywhere. Um, so um, we will pick this up again. Next week is actually there's no school, which means no childcare, and it's I believe it's President's Day here in the United States. So I will not be able to stream on the 20th, but I will be back on the 27th to maybe finish the moth-maiden's story. We'll see. I think it depends on how quickly we find the miss card. Again, I'm going to post once I'll clean up my handwriting a little bit. I will post these on Patreon. You can find the D20 Dames Patreon on patreon.com/D20Dames. We have tiers as low as $2 a month. If you can afford it, we would really appreciate the support. Um, and you get access to a Discord server where we get to talk about so many random things, mostly food and crafts. But we also have some behind the scenes content and just general chatter. We also have a book club reading Legends and Lattes right now. We haven't announced the date yet because we're trying to get a bunch more recordings in before we commit to a book club date. But that's the book we're reading, and we'll have a chat about that probably in the next month or so. Yeah, anyway, I am Kat Kruger. I'm usually the dungeon master at D20 Dames, playing some solo RPGs during downtime with Dames. Thank you, everyone who has followed along in the Moth Maiden's journey here, and for being patient with me as I learn how to play solo RPGs. So far, I'm really enjoying this whole format. I'm really fascinated by the really cool prompts. And again, I feel like it's been really helpful for my writing. I think if anybody just wants to jumpstart their writing, this is a really great tool for storytelling, solo storytelling. Um, anyway, again, thank you so much, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Jen has a stream this week. I think it's usually Wednesdays, but I believe that she's had to change the schedule. So remember to take a look either in our Discord or Twitter, social media at D20 Dames. All right, that's it for now. Until next time, Miss Adventure awaits.